I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. It's July 7th, 2016, 7 p.m. If you will please stand with me for the prayer and pledge. Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, let us thank you for this day and thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for allowing us to live in such a wonderful community, and thank you to allow the board to serve this community. Please guide us and direct us as we make decisions tonight. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Got a first and second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Third item is citizens' comments.
Mayor, I have no one signed up for citizens' comments tonight.
Okay. And fourth item would be awards and recognitions.
A great time for us to present the award that the city got.
Oh, okay, great.
So if you want to proceed with that, I think we could let Representative Durham read the award, and I'd like to say a couple of things of what led up to that award. And
Okay, great.
Okay.
For the citizens, we have Jeremy Durham, our state representative here. So do you want to go speak from there, or you want to go onto the podium?
I am however y'all want me to be.
Go ahead, go to the podium.
First speech I ever gave, they had it turned around and there were 4 people here, and that was about 5 years ago. So I'm glad there's maybe 20 more people, so that's good. But one of the things that we get to do as representatives is we get to honor people who are doing great things, and we get to give good news sometimes. And this is the latter. I remember about probably 10 months ago, many of your city employees and some of your city elected officials sat at this table up here, and we spoke to some of the folks at TDOT about how that we could help enhance the quality of life out here and improve the transportation as far as sidewalks. And I'm happy to announce that TDOT has approved through the state budget a little bit short of $1 million to connect some of the places in Fairview that don't have the sidewalks right now. So it's about $945, I think, a little bit less than $1 million grant. So I'm hoping that that will really improve the quality of life out here. I know that Wayne and some of the other folks up here know more of the technical details, but I'm really happy that the city is getting this, and look forward to helping however I can and any other thing that y'all want me to help with. So thank y'all for letting me talk about it.
Thank you.
if I have 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
At that meeting, we kind of took the lead from also Paul Deggs at that meeting. And he was the one that possibly would be approving this particular grant. So that started the bells to churning in my brain that day. But I approached Scott Tucker and Ron Rowe about whether we could get that done. So they kind of took the ball and run with it, and we're going to have sidewalks on the south side of 100 from Bowie Lake Road all the way to Fast Pace. That will connect us on that side of the road all the way to the Walmart, actually all the way to the Jingo Market. So we'll have sidewalks there, and they'll be handicapped for all the, and if y'all know, we have 2 major apartments in that stretch of road. We also have a major condo unit. So it will help a lot of citizens, but it also for the safety factor of our town, because I know everybody at night has, because of such a narrow shoulder we have there, that it's also been a big safety issue. On the right-hand side, I do have lights for nighttime, but the other side is still dark, and I'm hoping these sidewalks will be much more available. But I'm just tickled to death. I want to thank also the MPO because they helped guide us through there. Anna Emerson was huge in that, and I've forgotten Rochelle's last name, but she was huge. Scott may remember Rochelle's name, because he had a lot of dealings with her toward the end. But Michael Skipper was the final judge of that before it went on to the state for approval. Anyway, I want to thank Scott, the mayor, Ron Rowe, and Jeremy for always being here for us when we need his help. He's created several meetings with TDOT, TDEC, on down the line to help Fairview. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just real quick, I must say, Jeremy's probably got a lot going on right now, so in a long day, so we'll, feel free to exit whenever, but I did want to just, let everybody know that, we had applied for this grant and we didn't get it the first time, and there was only 2 awarded a multi-modem grant. And we had a lot of things on the plate, and I just called them up and I was like, we need a meeting with TDOT, and, we're nowhere on the 2014 plan. We need our name on there. And so Jeremy just basically said, well, let me see what I can do. And I expected him to just get a TDOT representative, but he had some of the biggest, and he had several people, and they were all sitting just ready to help us. So it was very nice, and we couldn't do that. And that's the kind of relationships that Jeremy has done a great job forming. When we needed TDEC, he had them all here too. So and attended the meetings. So for that, Jeremy, thank you for what you do, and we really appreciate your work and just being there for the city. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to public announcements. And I know we have one. Did you have anything tonight?
The emission testings Monday and Tuesday from 7:30 to noon. And I know Keith has an announcement on the parks, but do you have something else?
Yeah, Ron Rowe had asked, he wants to make an announcement for the Friends of the Library. So if you want to come up, it's just easier. He has all the great details, so I'm going to let him share with us.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have my Friends of the Library hat on tonight, so as their representative. Just to announce that the Friends of Fairview Library semi-annual book sale will be at the end of the month. It'll be on Thursday, July 28th, Friday, July 29th, and Saturday, July 30th. 28th and 29th, it'll be from 9 a.m. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then on Saturday, it'll be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Friends of the Library are also looking for book donations for the sale. Donations of gently used children and adult books can be dropped off at the Fairview branch of the Williamson County Library. Children's books and westerns are especially needed at this time, and contributions of DVDs, CDs, and puzzles are also welcome. Additionally, we need some help to set up, take down, and possibly during the sale. It's quite a chore, and we have so many people that are going on vacations and trying to fill in. So on Monday, July 25th, Tuesday, July 26th, and Wednesday, July 27th, we're going to have setup. For the Monday and Tuesday, it's 10:30 to 12:30 on the 25th, and or 2:30, and then 12:30 to 2:30 on Tuesday. And there's like 2-hour shifts in between there, or whatever people can volunteer. If you got an hour, we'll take it. And then on August 1st, there's a pack up the books type thing. So any help would be appreciated. Just call the library and say you'd like to donate some time, and one of the officers from the Friends of the Library will get back with you. Additionally, it says the Fairview Family and Community Education, FCE, Club will be offering a coffee shop during the morning hours of the book sale. Savory coffee donated by First District Coffee Company and scrumptious homemade baked goods will be sold, as well as books and coffee-related crafts. And then lastly, as always, all proceeds from the sales directly benefit the Fairview branch of the library here. So thank you, and we can use the help.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Can anybody give the update? I know we had lots of little kids running around on the 3rd raising money for going to state tournaments. Can y'all give us, I know there's 2 different age groups for sure. Commissioner Crutcher?
Yeah, there's 2 softball teams that it's going to the World Series in North Myrtle Beach. The 11 to 12-year-olds and the 9, 10-year-olds. And I think they are about halfway to their goal. I think they wanted to raise $10,000 per team. I think both teams are about halfway there, and they don't leave until the end of this month. I think they leave on the 29th to go. Initially, they thought Dixie Softball was going to be paying for all of the accommodations, housing, and food. We found out that's not the case. We found out that they get a per diem, $300 per day per team for lodging. So that will essentially pay for one girl's room. And I think they get $225 per day per team for food. So we might be able to feed them, but we're not going to be able to house them all for the full time that we're there. So I know they have an event scheduled this Saturday over at Dos Margaritas, and I hate that I don't have the time. I think it's in the evening, but I know Dos Margaritas during whatever period of time it is going to be donating 10% of sales, food sales, to the team. So that could be huge. Dos Margaritas is pretty busy on Saturday night, so hopefully they're going to be able to knock a big chunk out of the half that they still don't have. But I think they're going to get there. I know they have that event coming up. And I'll probably make some other announcements maybe at the next meeting. I know there's a movie night coming up at the high school football field on the Jumbotron to raise money. So there's a couple of events coming up, so we should be able to knock a big dent in what we're short.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
The U6 baseball team won today in their first game at state. They beat the District 1 champs 15-10 today. So
Okay,
they're
great.
1-0 in the state tournament.
Good deal.
And we have a U10 team that's going to start the state next Thursday. And I think they play in Rockwood. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think
Rockwood,
I've
Tennessee?
heard that too.
I think they play in Rockwood, so they're trying to raise money too. So there's a lot of teams out here trying to raise money right now. And not only that, we have teams from Hickman County and other areas coming to the Walmart in Fairview to try to raise money. So there's a lot of teams out here trying to get money raised. So
Well, that's great, and congratulations to those kids and hard work, so go out and support them. I do recall seeing there is a cornhole tournament, and I think there's information online, or I know social media probably has some information about that. So if that is their cup of tea and want to participate, it goes to a great cause. And definitely go eat Mexican this Saturday if you can.
they're actually going to have a band over there too at the Mexican restaurant. So
Okay, great deal. Well, good luck to everybody. And if that's it, no more announcements, we'll go into staff comments, and we'll have Mr. Hall as the codes director to start us off.
Thank you, Mayor. You never know each day when you get in what phone calls you might get or what you got late in the afternoon. But yesterday I got a very interesting phone call from a hotel group. And they want to be looking at Fairview. So I've already invited them to come in and give them a tour.
Great,
The next thing is we have an Ace Hardware that's interested in our town.
good.
And we also have a new pet training and boarding facility interested in our town. Of course, you announce these and you hope they come to fruition, but, I would love to see all three of these things come in and be ready to go. Just for codes purposes and things, this next coming week, we have 3 pre-construction meetings. One's the Cumberland Estates out on Cumberland Drive. Hardee's is scheduled, and they're the 3rd phase of Deer Valley Downs. Sharon wrote 5 building permits Wednesday alone. So that was a pretty good day for her, so that's kind of my report on the codes and planning to decide. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, before we have Ms. Johnson, I must say thank you so much for everything you did for the Independence Day celebration on July 3rd. I know you carry a lot of that all on your back. I know you have some wonderful other city employees that help you out. You can't do it alone, but I think it was a wonderful event, and I've heard nothing but positive things, and that's pretty good, because if we rate our cell phone public opinion on Facebook, we can say that we stayed out of the limelight and nothing but positive things. So I want to thank you for that. And if you want to report any numbers or anything else you might have, I don't know, just
Sure.
tell us what you got.
Real quick, I just want to say that we did receive verification from the state. The census has been certified at 8,002, so that's our new official population until the next one. All that hard work paid off. The July 3rd event, I just want to say thanks to all the staff. I did head it up, but there were a lot of people, a lot of hands in there helping me out. So police department, fire department, street department, parks, we had a lot of people helping out with the event, and a lot of employees who gave a lot of extra time and effort and to make it all happen. So the estimate was that the crowd was about the same size as last year. It didn't seem like there was as much up here on City Center proper, but I know they were lining the streets. Some people had their own little tailgate parties going on down the streets and on the roads. So really, it's all about community and bringing everyone together, and I think that we accomplished that.
Yes, thank you. And I guess sometime in the near future, you'll be able to give us donations and reports, so we'll be waiting for that. So I know you got a lot of sponsors this year, so that's great. Love to hear that, and we really appreciate all those that did donate money to help this event. It's such a important time, like Ms. Johnson said. I hear it all the time. It's really what Fairview's about, bringing everybody together and the community, and it just really allows us to shine at what we're really good at, and that's just coming together and being good people and celebrating a wonderful holiday. So, Mr. Daugherty.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing I want to report on is the fiscal year 17 budget has been sent to the comptroller. It was sent out on July 2nd. We're very busy right now doing preliminary audit work. Our audit is scheduled for the week of August 8th. We're also very busy right now doing in the year-end close out procedures. So we're just tying up loose ends and just getting everything set up, getting their books, getting our software reset, all that fun stuff. So, thank you.
Okay, any questions for any of the staff? Did Keith want to share with us now, or you want to come on up?
Tomorrow, July 8th, is the Flat River Band. Gates open at 6. Music starts 6:30 to 9.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Look forward to it. And then just to, I did want to acknowledge that we have our interim chief, Scott Smith, here. If you want to say something, feel free. You don't have to. I know this is kind of on the spot, but wave, that's great, you know. We appreciate you coming and taking part in the meeting. And, of course, he has his wife with him, and we appreciate that, too. Thank you,
Wave at you,
Linda, for
too.
coming. Okay. If that's it for the city staff, we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Old business A, discuss and take action on expiring board seats. There is one on the tree commission, the recall vote for the planning seat, one planning commission seat. Did we have any new applicants for the tree board? I didn't recall seeing. So just a note to the citizens, it's a great board and there's a lot of opportunities to serve on that board as far as just really as construction comes and new development, everything goes in front of the tree board. And so it's really just protecting our community and making sure that we do have proper green space when new development comes in. So please consider looking at that. And then also I put on item 2, a recall vote, just for the planning commission seat, because it was brought to my attention after the meeting that the planning commission person that was voted in was not present. Our own bylaws say that they have to be here, so I did want to put it on the agenda for discussion. Do you have anything to add, Larry, Mr. Condrell?
You also have an ordinance that says that anyone who has business before any commission or board in this city either has to be there or have, if it's a company, that can have an agent there acting for them.
Okay. And so this is really just a formality, and just to admit that was our bad. I think it was discussed in the last meeting that Mr. Mangrum I think there was some question on whether or not he got proper notification, at least when it was on the agenda for the last time. He said that he was not notified. Is that correct? Come on up, sorry.
Sorry for the confusion, and I did tell you that I didn't get notified, but when I went home that night and I relooked at Brandy's letter that she had sent me, and it was on the bottom of that letter. It's my fault for not reading all the way to the end of that letter. So I did miss that one in the last meeting. I had a previous meeting with a different organization, so I couldn't attend this one.
Okay. Okay, so, and then I think also just to recap, a couple of commissioners said that Mr. Mangrum did notify him that he was not going to be there, right?
I'm one of those.
Yeah, I got notification that he wouldn't be here.
Okay. Larry, any guidance on how that, I mean, is it basically if they're sitting commissioner and they can't show up, is it sorry about their luck, or can you give us
Yeah.
guidance?
Yeah, you can't change the ordinance, but if they tell you they can't be there, you can always reschedule it for when they can be there, because the bylaws of all the boards and/or commissions says that, even this board, that you serve until you're properly replaced. So if you had an election, and let's say for the Board of Commissioners, and we've had this happen, you think the election's going to be certified at a certain board and it hasn't been, the commissioner that was previously there sits until that election's certified. So all you need to do with this is it just be a formality, recall the vote of whatever date it was, and if it's the board's desire to reappoint him to the Planning Commission, you can do that at this time.
Okay. And then it was also pointed out, if we do a recall, it has to stand the way it was the night of the vote, meaning like we have to act like he's not here even though he's here?
No,
Is that?
you just recall it and, for the reason of him not being present, and then have the motion state you're recalling it for a technicality that he wasn't here the night the vote was taken, so you want to recall the vote of date of such and such, and put in the same motion, if that's the board's desire, to reappoint him at this time, and note that he is present.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we need to state that, the date of that meeting?
Mayor, I think it was June the 2nd.
So they need to state that in the
Right.
recall vote, and I got a first and second. Do y'all want to, any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that leaves us to number 3. That leaves us open with the planning commission seat. So if somebody,
No, I don't think that'll leave us with one.
well, we just recalled his vote, so now we have to
We just
reappoint.
reappointed him all
Oh,
in
you
one
just
motion.
wrote, okay,
That's what it's for.
That took care of the opening.
okay.
Okay.
So you're saying we don't need to go back and vote them properly in?
We just did that in
you
one
just did.
motion.
Okay, you did. I'm not sure I got that out of y'all's motion. Can you read that back to me, Brandy?
What Larry
Sure.
said.
Yeah, Attorney Cantrell said that they need to recall the vote for technicality and reappoint, so. we just-
Okay, okay. So it really,
Unless there's another seat available.
no, I'm just asking because I didn't get that. But okay, if we were just stating what Mr. Contrell said, then we'll move forward. Okay, and that will bring us to item B, discuss and take action on amending the ordinance for the Park Commission to add one board member and suspend the appointment made at the Board of Commissioners meeting held June 2nd, 2016, until the ordinance can be amended. And that's me. I brought this up because also it was pointed out to me that when we went for the vote that night, it was added in, there was one seat open, but it was really already the historical seat on the board. And Commissioner Johnson's motion stated that we would have Dr. Rice as that, and then we would also as the representative for that seat, which makes sense, and then we could also have Mr. Hendricks, but it's not what our bylaws say. So we just need, it's not a big deal. I mean, love to have them both serve on the board, but I just wanted to do a little housekeeping and clean that up. We just need to add a large position. Yes.
I've got a question for Mr. Cantrell. Is it possible, I'm on that board, instead of adding a new position, is it possible for Mr. Hendricks to have my position?
Checking somewhere down, just bear with me a minute. Either way, you'd have to make a, you'd have to do a revision of the Park Commission. The Park Commission was created just for the historical thing. The city charter gives this board the authority to create any, there's one statutory board you have to have this planning commission. The others are creation of the Board of Commissioners to assist them. The Section 2302 of Chapter 3 of the Park Commission, 2302, says there'd be 2 members from the Board of Commissioners. It has 1 member from the residents of the city of Fairview. You can either, decrease the number of commissioners and put to 1 and put 2 members from the citizenry of the city, or you can leave the 2 members and just have an additional, instead of having a 8 person board. I'm hoping counting correct. You'd have a 9-person board. One of them is an advisory from the schools. I can do it either way the board desires.
Go ahead, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, the way it's designed originally was 2 commissioners. We would have to change it because it's actually in there. So,
Or you can change, make 2 citizens, whichever one the board
yeah,
wants to do.
but there's nothing along the line of we couldn't just add another citizen position at large. Just the way it reads right now, we cannot obviously appoint a seat that doesn't exist.
And
So-
what you would do is, if you had a meeting in the interim, the gentleman that was appointed that doesn't have a seat, so to speak, in the musical chairs, would be perfectly welcome to sit there, observe. If they want to let him have comments, he can. He just couldn't vote. And it would take 2 readings to change, to make it a 9-member board. And that's, I can do either one the board desires. It doesn't matter to me. It's your call.
Yes.
People that are here from the park board, is there anybody in jeopardy of losing their seat because of non-attendance for 3 meetings or more? Is there anybody that stands a chance of losing their seat for not attending the last 3 meetings or 3 meetings in a row? Is there? Step up, sir.
And don't say the mayor. I was at the last meeting.
I wasn't.
First, I'd like to comment that the 1 seat from the school is a student and it's non-voting. So if you appoint an extra person to at-large, you'll have an even number. And generally, you like to have an odd number so you don't have a tie, because if you tie, it's a no vote, the way I understand it. So just to comment on that. Mr. Dowdy has missed the last 3 Park Commission meetings, so that's
What
the,
does it say about that, Larry? On the planning commission, you missed 3,
I don't think the Park Commission bylaws states that. It's kind of, some do, some don't.
Well,
Yeah.
and you've got to remember, these seats, this is kind of where we got into that, is it's appointed, like, he's the representative from the Planning Commission. That board actually has a representative from each committee. And typically, how it was originally designed was they picked, the board picked who their representative, and we just rubber stamped it.
Right.
But typically, we haven't had a lot of success. The people that are serving on our boards are doing multiple boards. So, but that's really, I don't know where we got away from doing that, but it was how it was designed in the beginning.
One comment. Twice last year, within the last 12 months, we had to cancel meetings because we did not have enough people. So it's very, very important that as many people show up as you can. Because we turn the lights on, we have security out front, and we're paying those people and comping people for the TV stuff. So, it's kind of a waste of money to not have people here, so.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Crutcher.
I was just going to say, the reason I was recommending or asking about the possibility of removing one of the BOC members was just so that we would still have that odd number of members on that board. But the other thing, and that may be a good solution, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind still staying in, and if you wanted to give up the seat or me give up the seat and you stay, it doesn't matter to me. I just don't know really, I mean, I know that's the way it was written, but I don't really know that we need 2 BOC members on the board. I just thought that might be an alternative solution.
It was written that way because the commission at the time requested that I write it that way.
Yeah, I understand why, but I
All your
don't,
fault.
I
All your
remember
fault.
when I wrote it, I had said before the high school member is a non-voting member, but, initially it would concern me, and I was thinking the same thing that Mr. Rowe was thinking. If you've got a even number and one's absent, then you've got where you could have a tie. But if you think about it, after I thought about it for a minute, it doesn't bother me as much as it originally did, because if you've got a 9-member board like the Planning Commission and one person's absent, then you've got an 8-member board. So just like here tonight, you've got a 5-member board, you've got 4.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really concern me. And by the way, there is no requirement in to remove someone, or no provision to remove someone if they miss 3 meetings in the ordinance. We can add that if the board desires that. I can do it anyway. If you want to add a second member from the citizens, if you want to reduce the board of commissioners by one on there, and add a provision that if you miss 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 4 meetings, whatever, just, tell me and I'll be happy to do that and have the ordinance ready for the next board meeting.
Okay. I don't have any preference. I think the 2 commissioners was just started because that's how most of our boards are, and it was just being consistent with the board. So I don't really have a preference either way, if 2 people are on or not. I do think it's anytime we can get citizens that want to be involved on these boards, then it's win-win for the city. So I don't think there's a problem just adding a at-large seat. But if you have a conflict or, feel like that you got too much going on and you would rather just eliminate your seat and give it to the at-large, I'm fine with that too.
Oh, I don't necessarily think that I have too much going on. I mean, it only meets quarterly, so it's not a huge burden to get here. I will say that sometimes I forget that it meets quarterly and I missed the last meeting. But I don't have a preference either. I was just trying to come up with see if it might be easier, and it doesn't sound like that it's going to be any easier. I think we still have to amend either way.
Well, and this is, like I said, they're really, in the past we need to discuss why he's redoing this. In the past, these boards have just selected whoever they wanted to sit in on that board. So meaning the planning commission would come up with a member and then would serve. Yes, Ronro.
Just as a comment from experience of being chairman for 2 years and on that commission for 3, when you bring in so many, or when the park commission's made up of other commissions, their passion is with that commission they came from. They're fulfilling what's needed by bylaws to the park commission. So the whole idea is to have the people on the park commission go back to their representative commission and let them know what's going on as far as the parks, but that never worked out. So my recommendation is to put more citizens on it. Yes, have someone from the Planning Commission, someone from the Friends of Bowie Park. That's important. You might be able to do like what the Plan Commission is, that you would designate someone to take your spot, Mayor or Commissioner Crutcher. But my recommendation would be go to more at-large citizens, but retain Plan Commission and Friends of Bowie Park. And maybe the History Association, so, thanks.
Mr. Control, would there be any problem with us just maybe changing the wording to state if a representative from these agents are available? If not, a citizen can fill in that their place? Because one of the things, it's hard to find somebody always from these committees.
You can do that. I just need to know which one. In other words, if somebody's on that committee, they'll have to stay till their term's up. And what you're wanting to do is get somebody appointed now. So we'll either have to change. We can change it to say, are you wanting to appoint alternates? Is that what you're saying, and have them attend the meeting and sit if somebody's absent, or?
Well, no, I think that's what Vice Mayor's going to want to do in the next line.
On down a couple more spots right here, one of the things I'm going to discuss is having alternates, as if like for the planning commission, pick 2 or 3 people to set as alternates in case the board members can't come up, and we can appoint those alternates. Let's just say I can't make it or somebody else can't make it, we can advise that alternate, make it fill in, so we'll always have a full board. That would probably work for this as well. Is there a problem in doing that, Larry?
There wouldn't be a problem. We just have to spell out under what conditions they could sit. Now, you couldn't do that for this board.
No, I'm talking about
because the statute controls this. Yeah.
Whoever.
But any board that you appoint, You
So we
make,
could actually appoint two alternates for the park commission.
you could appoint alternates but it'd have to be spelled out and make it, very clear that they can discuss, participate, but they can't vote, and they could only vote in the absence of the other person. This worked out real well on the Board of Zoning Appeals, because we were always missing, having to non-quorums, and had 3 straight months when we didn't have one. And it's worked out real well to have alternates for that.
Okay, Commissioner Crutcher?
I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion that we leave it as is, with the exception of eliminating one of the BOC member seats and giving that seat to a citizen at large.
That's simple enough to do, there's no problem.
Okay, we got a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
That's
Motion
assuming
carries.
that one board commissioner member is willing to give up their seat on this commission.
Yeah. One less meeting, what are you talking about? We might arm wrestle, no, I'm joking. No, I like, we'll discuss it later, I don't know
Maybe I
that it
should
has
say,
to be
If both of
decided.
them wants to give up their seat, they flip pennies or something. Ready for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Item C, discuss and take action on city manager hiring, and that is me. I just have been keeping that on the agenda. That way, Ms. Johnson could give us any updates. I did notify all the candidates, and they are all, the 3 that we listed are still interested in interviewing, and they were told to save the date. I know that Ms. Johnson ran into some stumbling blocks about our original location, and so she's working, trying to get us a new location for the meet and greet, so I'm going to let you share about that. It'll be a surprise to me, too.
Yes, Bowie, the nature park has camps going on. They also have, so there's lots of things out in there that would cause, it'd be a lot of work to clean it up for one evening and then put it out for the next day. Also, that section of the nature center is the one that's on the agenda just later this evening to replace the heating and air unit. So there's no air in that center section either. So I don't think that's going to be putting our best foot forward to invite folks to that location. We have checked a couple other locations in town. Neither one came through. Marymount has camps going on this time of year too, and First District, while they would have loved to have done this event, she's out of town. He's got a previous engagement, so without the owners present, they didn't want to do that. So it looks like we're going to have it here, out in the foyer, and in here we'll have it catered. So we'll have a meet and greet, dinner here, buffet style. So.
Well, that,
We'll make it work.
it'll
just
work.
what we
We've
do.
done it before, haven't we? Okay. Yes.
No, we talked I know we talked about this already, but the meet and greet is July 14th at,
That's correct, July 14th, and I think we said, do we say 5:30 for the meet and greet? Are we good with that? And then
Yes.
dinner at 6?
Yes.
Okay.
and then starting interviews the following day at,
At 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Interviews will be at 9, 10, and 11, and I've set the special meeting for 1:30 on that Friday to give you guys a little extra time for lunch. The question is to, and I know Mr. Hall is going to try to do tours for the candidates that day as well. Do we want to do a lunch for the candidates here? Because I'm guessing they may want to stay and listen to the meeting afterwards.
Well, I think we'll have a break for us too,
Have a
right?
break. I mean, it may be that you just want to go to a restaurant and have lunch there.
Yeah, I know that, I mean, they are more than welcome to stay, but if we provide some kind of breakfast or,
The
you know.
hotel
and-
is doing breakfast for the
good.
2 that are
Good,
staying at the
good.
hotel, which I got that booked this evening, so.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. Y'all have a preference? You want to just have a lunch here and then proceed, or? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're eating here the night before.
It's a special meeting.
1:30 on the 15th.
Yeah, I say we can eat on our own, and then they can eat on their own. If they want to stay, they can, check out some of our lovely restaurants. So, let's just leave it at that. Now, I did want to say, and if you will put this in the invitation, because I told them you would, once you got final, you'd be emailing them. But I mentioned to one of the candidates, and I didn't mention it to all of them, their spouses are more than welcome to come with the citizen if they want to. It's not a requirement. But if you'll just mention that in the email, I think it would be appropriate for that night if they wanted to come to the meet and greet. I think that would work.
Mayor?
Yes.
May I say something? I need to inform the board. I can be here for the 14th, but I cannot be here on the 15th for the special meeting. I have court that day, and I would assume that the only thing at the special meeting will be the voting on the hiring of the city manager. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot of advice I can give you on that because that's largely your call. But I did want to inform the board that I have that, I have a hearing that day.
Mr. Cottrell, are you telling us we can have a meeting without you?
Madam Mayor, it's your call. This board is in charge. They can do whatever they want to do. I just thought that it would be courteous of me to tell you, I know I have that on the 15th, and that I didn't just skip that on you. I have a calling that says you've got to be here.
Okay, well, if there's nothing legally binding and we can proceed with that special meeting, I don't see them delaying. If you don't have to be present, then nothing in our charter or our own bylaws that say you have to be there.
I wouldn't think for the special meeting that you can only consider what's on there, and that's hiring of the city manager. And generally, it says that the city attorney will be there if the board requires me to be there.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear.
But I will research that and be sure and let you know, because
Okay, yeah, please do.
if need be, I can have somebody here for me.
Okay. Okay, well, just let us know how that turns out. If that's it, Ms. Johnson? Okay. Okay, that brings us to item D. Discuss and take action on status of the investigation. And as I've stated before, I just decided to forego any drama of trying to add it and act like we're trying to hide it. Let's just keep it on until we get the report and we can discuss. So if there is anything that anybody needs to enlighten us on, I know nothing more. Do you have anything more,
At
Mr.
10
Hall?
to 7, there was still nothing.
Okay.
Say that again, I'm sorry. I didn't hear
At
you.
10 to 7 tonight, there was still nothing.
Okay, yes.
I've still got to ask the same question that I've posed before. How much longer are we going to pay 3 people to sit at home waiting on something from the sheriff's department? I couldn't wrap my mind around it 2 months ago. I can't wrap my mind around it now. Administratively, there has got to be steps or actions that this city can take regardless of what the sheriff's department may or may not do. And I understand what you guys have told me in the past, but I can't understand it. I mean, I've never seen it with any organization that I've ever been involved with this difficult to take some sort of action. It's like we are just paralyzed by what, I don't know. But this is approaching, it started in February, the 1st of February this started, and we're now in the 1st of July. So,
As I've stated before, the legal advice is until we have something in writing that it would be best not to bring them back.
well,
It'll probably make for some good reading when we do get it in writing. I'd say at least it better.
Would you like, Mr. Control, can you address anything that, obviously our legal advice is you, so is there anything you would like to say as far as Mr. Commissioner Crutcher's comments?
If there's anything available outside this report, the city would have to conduct its own investigation and act on that, because the charges, any charges that's going to be brought are going to have to be detailed and as to what is violated, when it was violated, attach the evidence that you have that it was violated. So we'd have to be running a parallel investigation with the sheriff's investigation, which was the reason that it was sent outside in the first place. That's my only comment.
Okay, Commissioner.
With as
Pritchard.
much that has already been leaked from within our organization to media and placed on social media by people within our organization, and surreptitious recordings made, and I could go on and on and on. You're telling me that we've got to do something outside of what's already, all of that information. We've got to do something in addition to that to bring some sort of administrative action against an employee. Is it that hard to fire or discipline or bring back an employee? It just can't be that way.
You've got to utilize due process, which means you've got to be told what, when, and where to defend. And yes, there's a lot of rumors, and everybody's heard rumors, but I can't put down as a charge against you that rumor has it you did such and such.
Well, videotape's not a rumor.
That's true.
A
but I don't
recording's
have
not a
video-
rumor.
I don't have videotapes on all three people.
Social media, there's no rumor. It's on there.
But social media is not something that you can, I can't take a Facebook page and introduce that into evidence. You're going to have to get those people and get where they got the information and document what's there.
Let me stop you. Introduce what into evidence to who?
To whomever you're bringing the charge against, you have to attach to your charge the evidence, what was violated, what section of whatever the operating procedure or whatever it may be, and attach the evidence that you're going to introduce as, that substantiates that charge.
So, as I understand, I mean, Tennessee is an at-will employer, at-will employment state. Is that true?
It is, but not in the case of our procedure. Our policies and procedures manual takes it out of that and virtually gives every employee due process hearing, which is not, that's contrary to at-will. In an at-will state, if it's truly at-will, you can terminate me for any reason other than the normal, the
Discriminatory
normal
reasons.
discriminatory procedures.
Or no reason.
Or no reason at all?
As long as it's not discriminatory. But in our case, our policies and procedures manual says that you're entitled to a pre-termination hearing, and in that hearing, you've got to lay out your evidence as to what you did that entitles me to terminate you, when you did it, and I've got to substantiate that.
Okay. And there's various classes of offenses within our policies and procedures manual, right? I've read those.
Yes.
And your position is that you've got to state when that policy was violated, who violated that policy, and how the policy was violated.
That's correct.
Is that right? And it's your position that we don't have evidence that, of those three questions. We don't have any evidence to support those three
I don't say you
questions?
don't have any evidence. I don't have it.
But before the city started down the path of getting the sheriff's office involved, there was already a partial investigation conducted by the administration
There
that
was.
did come up with some evidence,
Right, against one of the individuals.
okay? Since that time, there's been additional things that have happened via tape recordings and social media and various other things that would, based off of what the information I heard at a previous meeting, would have been in violation of our policies and procedures,
We don't have a policy and procedures against taping. The board never enacted that.
okay? Okay, so that's just misinformation then.
Well, there was a policies and procedures manual that was published that had some information in it that the board never approved.
Hang on.
Why?
I don't know why. I didn't know it exists until I saw it. The one that, last official one that I saw is dated, don't hold me to this date, but I think it's in 2006. And then later I find out that there's one that was dated sometime in 2013, and that it has provisions in there that never came before this board. I had never seen that one. So I can't use that because it wasn't approved by the board. Why it wasn't approved by the board, who did it, I don't know. I'd never seen it before.
Well, I keep hear you, I mean, I hear you reference in your opinion that, something being able to get something into evidence. So that lends me to believe that you're thinking about getting it into evidence down the road if and when there's a lawsuit.
No, I'm talking about at your hearing. You have to have a hearing before a due process hearing before the city manager, his designee, or if it's somebody that answers directly to the city manager before this board. And at that hearing, you've got to say, you violated such and such, here's when you violated it, and here's my evidence. Now, I can call people to the stand and have them testify if I know who those people are and what they saw.
I just cannot believe that we have a policy and procedure manual that has completely just paralyzed our ability to do anything with folks that are clearly, in my opinion, based off of what I've seen, done some stuff that is highly questionable at best. So what I want to do is I want to put on the next agenda, discuss and take action on suspending all provisions of that policies and procedures manual, or at least discuss and take action on that policy and procedures manual.
Well,
Hold up.
You can do that, but you can't do the state has a statute that
That's
says
to
when it
law
involves
enforcement.
police officers, that they have to have a due process hearing.
I want you to bring that statute. And then I want us to also put on the agenda, discuss or take action on having a human resource consultant review that policies and procedures manual immediately. That's something we need to have done early on this fiscal year.
Because I have no idea what is in there that hadn't been approved other than about the taping. Because it was not in the one in 2006. It showed up in the one in 2013. And if it's not, I'll be happy to get the statute. I mean, that's not a problem. I can't take it off the top of my head. But it spells out the same thing, really. It says the same thing that our policies and procedures manual does in relation to police officers only. Policies and procedures manual gives that same procedure to every employee the city has.
Can you repeat the dates? You're saying there was, because I remember it being brought forth to the board and us approving. They revised the whole policy and procedures.
Well, the original one was in 2006.
Okay.
And
So I wouldn't have been there. So what did they
Then there was a
bring?
change in one provision in the policy and procedures manual that was brought before this board, but it was not the one about tape recording.
But they rewrote the whole manual. I thought we approved the whole, manual.
Did the police department not have an internal policies and procedures manual that was different than what?
They do.
Okay. Does that policies and procedures manual address itself to that issue?
Does it address what?
Does it address itself to that issue? the
Recording?
tape recording?
No, sir. Not that I found. And I request Ms. Brandy look for ordinances revised in the policies and procedures manual and didn't find one about recording. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, but was there anything on the manual? Because I remember the manual being brought to us and we were approved, and they did a whole lot of updates. So you didn't find anything?
No, we found numerous updates to the manual. However, the recording was not one of the ones. It was approved with an ordinance, so it would have to be changed with an ordinance, correct?
That's correct.
There is no ordinance changing the recording policy or adding a recording policy.
So when you have no recording policy and
Well,
it occurs,
the state, the Tennessee is a one-party state.
I don't even want to hear all that. I know about that. I want to know when you don't have it in our policies and procedures manual, there's no class of offense that would fall under, even though it's not specifically stated that you can't record someone?
Possibly.
Have we looked at that? I mean, I'm just trying
I've looked at it.
that's just an example. I mean, because
I've looked at lots of things, yes, but I don't know what you're specifically referring to, but there is a statement in there about if it tends to, and I'm paraphrasing now, degrade or damage the image of the city, the service of the city, That's in the policies and procedures manual, and there's.
So that
consequences.
was already approved, and
That
so
was
that
already-
part.
that's in the 2000
So right
section.
there, regardless if there's a recording, you can, and the fact of just the conduct itself is inappropriate for an employee.
It possibly could be. I mean, it could possibly be used as something you shouldn't be doing. Depends on the circumstances.
So why do we have to wait? And I'm not advocating terminate or bring, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to figure out why we cannot take any position whatsoever until there's some report that comes out from the sheriff's department, which is clearly, at this point, I think we can all agree, based on some sort of criminal conduct. I mean, why administratively based on violations, clear violations, or at least, as some may perceive, clear violations of our policy procedures manual, can we not take some action? I mean, because I've been hearing we're going to get a report, it's going to be, Monday, it's going to be Friday, and we still have no report.
We can take whatever position the board directs. That's your call. If you want to proceed down another avenue, I don't know that you wanted to have 2 investigations going at the same time. That's your call. If you
Well,
want,
if we're not investigating the same thing, it really doesn't
Right.
matter. I mean,
Well-
there's new violations and concerns since the investigation has started that could be addressed right now. That may not have anything to do with what's going on at the sheriff's department.
and that's this board's call.
So, any thoughts on that? I mean, do we want to take a look at some of these new allegations and maybe have our own investigation, internal? I don't know that there's any reason we couldn't move forward because some of these new allegations have nothing to do with what's being done with the Williamson County Sheriff's Department. So I make a motion, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
in the
go
motion.
ahead.
I have a question, though. We've already voted to approve a hearing by this board, and that hearing was based on potential violations of policy and procedure within the PD.
I think it was going to be held after the report.
Well, that was the initial, I think you're
You
right.
could always change that.
I think that was initially what we agreed to do, but I guess my question is this. Those individuals that are on leave are on administrative paid leave, right?
Well, I understand
Okay,
that.
so they're still employees of the city. If we tell them to come to work, we tell them to come to a meeting, then they would be required as employees of the city to come. Is that a true statement?
I would think so.
Okay, so if we schedule that hearing and we give them notice, I mean, of course, they're entitled to counsel. Counsel, I don't think counsel can participate, but they can be present. If we give them notice to be here, then they would need to be here. If they came, and in light of the fact that there's criminal charges pending, they chose to invoke their Fifth Amendment right to any questions that may be asked, then couldn't we as a board draw a negative inference from them invoking their Fifth Amendment right?
I'll get you.
I think you might have a little trouble with that.
I know, just a second, I'm gonna let him
because
answer and then I'll get you.
If I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against incrimination, and then you're going to turn around and do something to me because I wouldn't state something that I executed or exercised a constitutional privilege against saying.
But this would be a civil, it would be a civil standard in an administrative hearing, wouldn't it?
It would be, but I think you might have some problems with it.
Can we, Chief Smith said he has something to add, if you can, when you said that, so if it Can you come up to the mic? I mean, it's just we can't hear you at citizens at home.
I'm quite a little bit more familiar with Connecticut labor laws, but does Garrity exist in Tennessee?
Yes.
Yes.
Then why can't we advise them of their Garrity rights, and they have to answer your questions?
I think
That's
that's
for their
possible.
counsel to be here, and, you know, and if they say something to that question, you just go on to the next question.
But from my understanding, they can't refuse to answer questions once they're advised of their Garrity warnings.
I think you're
They
right.
have to answer your questions, or they can be terminated.
That's true. But if it's revealing something criminal.
It can't be used against them under Garrity.
Because it can't be used against them because we can't grant them immunity from criminal prosecution.
But normally, best practice is you finish your criminal investigation first, and then.
Right.
But I know, you know, we're in desperate times, I guess, but we can always go that route, is bring them in, offer them Garrity. I don't see why they need counsel, because there's no Fifth Amendment desire there, but that's just my opinion on it.
Well, I think your policies and procedures manual would allow them to have counsel present.
Well, and there's one thing, I don't think these criminal allegations, I don't really think we can bring them forward and discuss those, that we couldn't. But I think there is enough internal policy violations that we can proceed and bring them in and give them everything that they are allowed to have with their due process. Yes.
I think you're absolutely right, and to be frank, I don't really know the full extent of what the criminal allegations even are. So if we asked them something, I wouldn't necessarily know whether it was something that was being investigated by the Sheriff's Department or not. But I'm like Mayor Carroll. I think if we stick strictly to our policies and procedures manual and looking at possible violations of that manual, then I think we would be fine. And the chief brings up a good point. Under Garrity, I think if they didn't answer questions as related to violations of that policies and procedures manual, that in and of itself would be a violation. What I was concerned about is them coming in, but I think the Garrity case probably resolves that issue, was them coming in and just doing what you see a lot of times in congressional hearings and otherwise, somebody just taking a blanket, invocation of the Fifth Amendment right and not answering any questions.
Well, the difference there is they're not employees. But under your policy and procedures manual, you have a two-step process. You have to first give them a termination notice. And in that termination notice, you've got to state what the charges are and how you expect to prove those charges. Then they've got 5 days to either ask for a hearing, or if they don't ask for a hearing, then you proceed without a hearing. But it'll take, once you get those things together, you got to get them either hand-delivered or in a manner in which you can prove that they got the notice. And then they've got 5 days from the time that that you can show they got notice, which means either certified or registered mail or personal delivery, and get them signed for it. They got 5 days to ask for a hearing.
Okay, and Commissioner Johnson?
So that we're transparent with the new city manager candidates, can we hold this hearing right before those interviews? So they know
That would be appropriate, I think.
if they're gonna have to immediately deal with this, they need to know what's going on, I would say. Or we wait till after the investigation's over to do it.
Well, I don't think we...
want to get on it quick, though, so we could...
Yeah. Well, I don't know that we necessarily have to say that we do it next week. I think we can go ahead and set a date in the future that we know where we're going, so we don't have to keep saying. I think we know enough from the preliminary report that we could guide the conversation to make sure, because there's certain things that will have nothing to do with some of these new things that come out that you're referring to, things that have shown up on social media, has nothing to do with the investigation. So I think if maybe the chief and Mr. Hall and maybe the city attorney, we could, address some of those issues, then we can start eliminating, because it's still going to exist. They only looked in criminal. So it's still going to exist. We're still going to have these issues even when the report gets to us. So if we go ahead and start the process, but we cannot sit here and ask every rumor
No.
that we've ever heard and run a risk of interfering with whatever criminal investigation. But there's some facts that we have that we can deal with.
We know they're being paid right now, and they've been off 5, 6 months, whatever, 5 months. If they are terminated, we recoup the money?
No.
Where is that?
But-
And at any time during this, can we stop sending the checks?
Well, if you're this far, what they run the risk of doing then is increasing their damages. Because if they should win, then they can come back and get not only back pay, but any damages that they might incur. If you won't proceed with this, what I would suggest, and you're talking about stuff on social media that I haven't seen, I don't know if Mr. Hall's seen it or not, if the chief's seen it, I would suggest that whoever has access to that, get it to Mr. Hall and let him and the chief do that internal investigation in light of only policy violations. You're trying to usurp the sheriff's investigation if it's criminal, or the DA's investigation, or whoever it is. But get those to Mr. Hall so he can get with the chief and they can do an internal investigation relative to policies and say, you violated policy by such and such. And then we can go back and look at those and see if it is, for one thing, derogation of the service. Does it make the city look bad? Blah, 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 this type of thing.
Yeah.
Because,
And that would be us not doing it? Is that what we're talking
Well, we don't necessarily have to have, they can start the investigation and determine what needs to be brought forth, If they don't want to handle it themselves, they can bring it forth to us. I mean, I guess if they have and they can determine that they have enough, I mean, they could do it themselves. The
Well,
only reason we did the hearing in the first place is just because there was so many different ends going, and just to do it out in public because there were so many allegations. But I did want to make the comment, that these allegations we're referring to, no disrespect, but everybody that watches Channel 2 knows these allegations. So to say that we don't know what they are, or it hasn't been presented to Mr. Hall, if you watch the news, we know what some of these allegations are. So I think we can proceed with our own policy and procedure manual and just address some of these issues.
I'm aware of those. Facebook, I'm not. I don't do Facebook, and I wouldn't have it here anyway. But get those things to them so they can, because if you're gonna do this on policies and procedures, you want as many allegations as you can get that you can substantiate. Because if one gets thrown out, you still got another one and another one and another one.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind bringing the thing, it's just a matter we need to get substantiation of those.
Chief, would you do it now, or would you wait till the criminal thing's over?
No, I'm new to this situation, so I myself have a little more patience. I would rather move a little more cautiously, but I know you folks have been waiting for several months now. It's always best practice to wait for the criminal investigation to be done first, and then you follow up with your internal investigation. Because if you come across something in the internal investigation that's criminal, you've lost it. You can't use it against them, especially under Garrity. And that's what we're talking about here. We want to issue them their Garrity rights, and they can't refuse to answer your questions, and if they do, you can fire them. So it's always best to do the criminal first. Can you give me a couple of days to see if I can move that along, and I'll keep in touch with you and let you know where we're at. If it seems like a stalemate, then I'll talk to Mr. Hall and see about doing an internal investigation.
Okay.
My
You
one
good with
my
that?
one concern is if we bring back somebody that has criminal against them, then we gotta turn around and do the whole process over. That's my one concern, so.
I understand that, but we don't know whether that's gonna happen or not. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
this could go on indefinitely. I mean, we've been told over and over and over, we're gonna get this. And again, this is no disrespect to Sheriff Long, but I mean, you guys met for a preliminary report how long ago?
About a month.
A month now,
And was told you're gonna have something the next week, and
Friday.
and now here we are. And I'm like the chief, I mean, in a perfect scenario, we would have the criminal report first, decide or know whether or not the district attorney was gonna pursue any criminal charges, and then we could decide how to proceed from there. And that may fix some of the issues,
Right off the bat,
right off the
for
bat.
sure.
But I'm fine with the chief having a couple of days to kind of see where things are, and then us, I would like this to remain as a standing agenda item, and then us see where we are, 2 weeks from now.
Okay. And not to say, Mr. Hall has talked to him, there's just nothing new. They're finalizing their report. So that's all we can say. It's not, I want to be able to say, the sheriff's behalf. It's not, there hasn't been any contact. But that's why it was just a preliminary, is they may have came across something else, or they may not have, or maybe they just have to finalize the report. So we just need to hold tight, and I think that's great, if you don't mind reaching out and seeing and just give us the report back. I'm with Commissioner, yeah. Well, I'm with Commissioner Crutcher. I mean, I'm ready for it to be over too. I mean, it's time, we got the intern chief, it's time to start rebuilding this department, just let these staff members that have been here working hard, doing their jobs, get some, closure. Those at home, if they're not, let them come back to work if there's nothing going on there, and just move forward.
And now that we have a new interim chief, I feel like we're more equipped to do an internal investigation, because he wasn't a principal involved in any of the allegations down there. I mean,
He's a bit more confident in the investigation.
he's coming in and he's going to be objective about, what has occurred, and I think that's important. So, I mean, we're certainly more suited, I think, now to have an internal investigation by the department and Mr. Hall. Let's just see where we are in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Chief, while you're doing that, can you also recheck the information we have downstairs for the police department on their
Policy.
on their policy and procedures that they have downstairs?
Yes,
Research it on the plate.
certainly.
I've been told several times that it was there, but
Yeah.
There is a department policy downstairs. Yeah, I was reading it today.
okay, but just the part about tape recording.
I don't know if that's specifically addressed in the department policy. I know
We just need to know.
there's a policy, a city policy, that I believe it speaks to conduct more than a tape recording somebody. But, a lot of policies are kind of broad and vague just for that reason, so you can apply them where you need them, but.
And then I'll try to see if I can come up with the new policy, the updated employee manual, but, because I know it was brought in front of us. Now, whether or not they told us it wasn't necessary to vote on it, or the guidance was we didn't have to vote on it, but there's tapes somewhere of that meeting.
I believe Andrew wanted to suggest putting it in.
Yeah.
Procedure manual.
It was. It was done when Mr. Hyatt was here. Yes.
And I understand the Tennessee law on it, but if it's not policy and procedure, it needs to be part of our policy and procedure. I think Barry Hill just had a chief getting some trouble over this same issue, did he not, Mr. Cantrell, I think?
I don't think there's anything official on it. There were some rumors. I was sure when they passed the one in 2006, and I can assure you, if you find the tape, no advice was given that they didn't have to bring it before the board to put it in the manual. I was not aware of the one in 2013 until way down the road, probably a couple of weeks ago. I got something that I was talking with Tom, I believe it was probably a couple of weeks ago, and he gave me a 2006, and then I get something and something else that has one that's 2013, and that's when I asked him to check and see if this 2013 had ever been approved. That's when I got to talk to Ms. Brandy about the things that had been changed in the policies and procedures manual that came before the board. Specifically, I asked the question, is the recording procedure that was on page 50 of the 2013 version, was that ever taken before the board? Because I didn't remember seeing it. And she checked and came back a couple of days later and said that was never brought before the board. And there were several things that she said was brought before the board. One was, I just recall this off the top of my head, one was a tobacco policy, and there were some other things that I don't recall, but no recording policy.
Well, it certainly needs to be. I mean, you want to talk about putting a chilling effect on people being able to communicate with one another. That'll do it. And worrying about whether or not we're running around, not being able to speak candidly and being tape recorded and parts of it being changed or used and other parts not, that destroys relationships.
Well, even though the state of Tennessee is a one-party permission state, there's some, the state law is, but there's some places there that even then that don't work if it's a place where I can expect privacy. But there is nothing in the one that was adopted in 2006 that includes recording policy.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
this policy they're talking about is the one that Chief Harris brought to me, that's the policy that they have been going by since 2013.
And is it in there or not in there? Who does that have to, who does a police department policy and procedure manual have to be approved by?
It wasn't the police department. The police department had a copy of the policies
Oh,
and procedures
okay.
manual
I
of the
see.
city, which is when I asked Mr. Tom if he had a copy of the 2013 version, and he said, no, is that correct?
But there is a difference between policy procedure up here and the one downstairs at the police department.
That's my understanding. I have a,
And that one does not have to be approved by the board.
not the one, the police department's policies and procedures, but,
So the one that says no tape recording, whose policy procedures manual was that?
that was the one that was in there that was never approved was in the city's policies and procedures manual. I think if my memory is correct, the policies and procedures manual of the police department says in there somewhere that, that if there's a difference, the city's policies and procedures manual will take precedence. It would anyway by statutory interpretation, because the board didn't approve that. That's granted by the state for the police department to have a policy procedures manual if they want.
Okay. Okay, let's move on unless we have any more questions. Thank you for coming up and adding insight. That brings us to E, discuss and take action on policy for nepotism and conflict of interest. Vice Mayor Sutton.
We brought that up last meeting, and I think everybody wanted to wait till Commissioner Crutcher was back. I think you're out of town at the time. And you had a chance to look over it.
I have.
At that point, I'm gonna make a motion to approve nepotism policy that was set forth by MTAS.
Okay, I got a first and second. Any discussion? Yes.
I'm not going to say a whole lot about this because I think I've made my position clear on several occasions. But the one that MTAS sent as their model policy, in my opinion, it's not as broad as it should be in defining a relationship, and I've mentioned that in the past a couple of times. And two, it doesn't make any mention whatsoever as relates to relatives of BOC members. And I'll be honest, I think the bigger issue is not necessarily having relatives working within the city together. The issue that I have is relatives working in the city that are close relatives to members on this board. And the MTAS policy makes no mention of that whatsoever, or has no prohibition against that. So, you know, I'm not inclined to vote to approve the MTS policy. At the same time, I don't want to spend 2 hours arguing my position on this again. Mr. Hall has come forth with a policy which we directed him to do, which I think does address itself to some degree about family members working for the city of BOC members. And I personally would be more inclined to adopt, although I think there did need to be a few changes to the one Mr. Hall made, I would be more inclined to adopt Mr. Hall's proposed policy than I would MTS's model policy.
Any other discussion? Did y'all, we have the nepotism and conflict of interest wrapped up in one motion?
Mayor, may I add
Yes.
something about conflict of interest? You have a conflict of interest policy. I reviewed the stuff that Ms. Hodge put together, and she did a good job, but you have a conflict of interest policy that is Section 5 of Title I, and it addresses all this stuff that she had. Plus, you've got 2 state statutes that primarily control anything outside that. So we're pretty, in my opinion, we're pretty good on conflict of interest. I would like to suggest one thing. Whichever nepotism policy or no nepotism policy that the board enacts, that's your call. I have nothing to say about that. But I would like to suggest that whichever one you adopt, that you include in your motion that this be placed in the policies and procedures manual we have one now under the heading of nepotism policy, or whatever page it may come out to be, but under the heading of
Okay.
nepotism.
We
What?
already have a nepotism policy.
Yes.
Yes, sir. But you just replace it with this one, but it would take the direction of this board, so it could be placed in there.
And the reason people sent discussion, is this is what was sent to Mayor Carroll requested it with several different questions and objections to them, for them to answer for us. And in the letter that was sent back to us, answering those particular questions and stuff, they were pretty clear on the stance that they had, the University of Tennessee, I think they had. And that was, it's going to be from MTS is presented. That was the reason behind it.
Yes.
I read the letter from MTS, and I don't quite agree with the characterization that it was clear. I mean, I think that they answered, they gave a pretty good legal answer, where you didn't really know one way or the other what their position was. They said they didn't believe that some of Mayor Carroll's questions presented a conflict of interest, but they always added that language at the end, out of an abundance of caution, do this. Out of abundance of caution, do this. Or it probably wouldn't be in the best interest, or out of abundance of caution, you should read that conflict of interest policy. So, you know, I didn't get quite the same feeling from reading that letter in terms of it being just a clear, clear-cut yes or no to Mayor Carroll's questions. But it really addressed itself more to when a member of this board should disclose a relationship or a conflict of interest. It really didn't address itself to there being an issue of nepotism. And I use the word nepotism loosely. I know Commissioner Basell, and he's not here, but he's given the legal definition of nepotism. But I think it's much broader than whether or not it has or hasn't occurred. I think is there an appearance of nepotism? And you know, we can eliminate the appearance of nepotism by adopting a strong policy against those familiar relationships occurring in the future by virtue of someone being hired into the city that has a member on this board, a family member on this board. So that's why I don't like MTS's policy, because it just doesn't address itself to the real issue that I brought it to begin with, and that was relationships on the BOC with members of the BOC. So. And I will say that I think that, you know, after we discussed nepotism on, I think it was June the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, but after we discussed the nepotism policy that Mr. Hall had brought back, you know, I mean, the very next vote on the budget was illustrative of the issue. I mean, you know, we had 2 commissioners abstaining and 1 reading a conflict of interest provision into the minutes. So, you know, to say that it's not an issue, and I don't know if we want to call it nepotism or not, but to say it's not an issue for us up here to have members of our family working for the city, I don't think that's true. I think it is an issue, and I think it's been revealed several times just through various votes on the board.
Well, I do feel like that, they're, like Commissioner Basell has brought up, it is 2 different things. A nepotism policy deals with the employees. And I think one of those meetings, we may have led the citizens to think that we had no nepotism policy, and that really wasn't the case. We had one, it was just too broad, and it wasn't very precise, and so getting something and defining it was a good idea. Me personally, I was fine with the one Mr. Hall presented. MTS, this was before any of that. I don't know, I was trying to look at the date. Anybody, was it November? Were you even on the board when I got the MTS?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This was just, that was in November of 2015.
Okay. So anyway, it was a general, and what I had, just to clarify for memory, what I'd done was there had been lots of questions about votes and who could vote for what. And so I just had generally just asked for an opinion on some of those. And, you know, they came through and answered a lot of the questions. A lot of things, they are vague. They're not our legal counsel. They're just to give us a direction and guidance, and so that's what they did.
But not just us, every city.
Eddie's,
Every
yes,
city.
yes, every
This is
city.
the same
That's
thing
why
they
they're
do
there.
Every city.
Yeah. And that's why they're there. They're there as guidance if we want to ask, you know, any questions. So that's for, just to give you a little bit of background on that. But, you know, I'm fine with Mr. Hall's, or if we want,
I'm
I'm,
fine with impasses.
yeah, originally, I'm fine, because there was some things that they added that, like, we didn't even have in the, where you had to disclose the relationships before you're hired and the applications. So I liked that part. There was things that I liked, but I didn't consult them for the answer of this is how it had to be. I just wanted to know what the state standard was. And so that's what they answered those questions. But I do think Commissioner Crutcher's right. We wouldn't even be spending all this time talking about it if it just duly goes to the fact of the perception and what is perceived, and probably has more to do with the conflict of interest on votes than it does nepotism. But there's really no other place to address the hiring practices. So then all of a sudden it brings us back to the nepotism policy. And Commissioner Crutcher, what you're liking about that is the 2 steps, like 2 promotions? Because there's not that much difference from between Mr. Hall's and I think you probably used the MTAS as a guideline, didn't you? Yeah.
Could I ask a question while he's possibly?
Sure.
taking over? What does one of the members of this board abstaining from a vote have to do with nepotism?
Are you asking me?
Anybody that wants to answer it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was just stating the fact that right after we talked about the nepotism policy and right after Commissioner Basell read the conflict of interest into the record, his statement, then you and Commissioner, or Vice Mayor Sutton, for whatever reason, you didn't give your reason for from abstaining, but you didn't vote on the budget. So I guess I was connecting the dots that for whatever reason, you guys didn't feel it appropriate to vote because you didn't state why. If I was wrong for believing that, then, you know, I didn't have anything else to go on or any other reason as to why you guys were taking that position. But that's just factually what happened that night. So that was why I said that.
Okay, we have a motion on the table for the MTS nepotism policy, is that correct?
I'd like to amend the motion to approve the policy drafted by Mr. Hall.
Okay, we have a motion. Okay, I'll second that motion. Amended motion. Any other discussion with that? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on the amended motion. If there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, the amended motion fails. The second, we'll go back to the first motion, and that would be to use MTS nepotism policy recommendation. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, motion dies. As of right now, we'll stand with the current policy. Okay, item 10, new business, discuss and take action on spending the facility tax money on Fairview Schools, Carroll. And I just had asked for this to be on the agenda because at the special meeting, we discussed what the school facility tax could be used for. We had received an email from, I guess, the attorney stating what it was. I think Mr. Daugherty was in contact with the county on how we can spend the money. So, and then it was perceived as a little different than what we had originally saw it. So then in light of the special meeting, it was discussed that, no, it's not that we can't spend the money, but if it's anything but those approved items, that we would need to go to the county of commissioners and get approval. Correct? Do you want to fill in any blanks on that?
Yeah, if I could expand on this a little bit, Mayor. That is essentially correct. It would still have to be something that is not outside the scope of the original act, the private acts that enacted the privilege tax in the first place, and that is a public purpose that is directly related to growth. The county and the city both are bound by that. Now, it goes further in that private act to say that if the county is restricted absolutely to expanding school facilities on the basis of need for growth. The city has a little more leeway in that. And the example that I can give, and the county agreed with this, if you remember, the library expansion. Clearly, that's public purpose. Clearly, it's attached to growth. It is not an expansion of a school facility. But our part was allowed, the county agreed with it for us to put that in there. Now, the reason that the city is bound on the school facility type thing for growth is the provisions of the interlocal agreement between the county and the city that says, item 4, city's responsibilities, section C, both parties agree that the funds shall only be used for those future school facilities as agreed upon by both the city and the county and within the guidelines and restrictions set forth in the Tennessee Code and the Private Act. Now, if it wasn't for that agreement, the city would not be bound as strictly to schools. It would absolutely be bound by the private act that set this tax into motion in the first place. The private act, and I've got that, states in section 10, all tax funds collected, whether used by the county or cities, shall be used for the purpose of providing public facilities, the need for which is reasonably related to new development. Then it goes on, that's where the restriction of the county comes. The county, in budgeting its funds, shall utilize 100% of the county proceeds of tax funds collected for public purposes. The county shall make the appropriate distribution to the schools, to the cities, et cetera, after they pass a capital improvements budget, and the city did that a long time ago. The thing that would happen, the reason I said that if the county would agree, the first thing that would have to happen would be that this board would have to find this is a purpose that we want to use school funds for. You would then have to decide and have it a determination that it is a public facility, and that it's further that it's a result directly of growth. Now, if it's not tied directly to a school, if this board and the county agrees, then you'd be in good shape. Because in my conversations with Mr. Cook with the county, he said, yes, you've got more latitude under the private acts than that. We both agree that the interlocal agreement ties us to the same thing unless they agree. There is one thing that I don't know how tough this would be to determine. Mr. Tom may be able to tell us. Section A of the city's responsibility, the city agrees to maintain the revenue in a separate account, but the second sentence is the one that the city will be fully authorized to use any funds received from interest on the money in the investment account for any purposes authorized by the private act. So if that could be split, if you could determine from the time that this money has been placed in there, how much interest it has drawn, then the only thing you would be tied by is that it is a public facility, not necessarily a school, but a public facility, and its direct need is due to growth. Now, I don't know how difficult it would be to determine how long that, I think the account was originally set up as a separate account, wasn't it, or was it?
It was not when I arrived.
So it may be almost impossible to determine
It would
what's
be
interest.
extremely difficult.
After it was set up as a separate account, would it be possible to determine it from that?
Sure.
Okay, then that part you could use any way that you wanted to, with qualification that it be a public facility, and the result, the need was a direct result of growth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I'm probably going to defer this, and I hate to do that, but I wanted to go ahead and get more information. We had several of the schools that had already submitted last year requests. One was the high school and replacing their sign. Also Westwood Elementary. But I was thinking everybody had requested, and I would rather see what the schools needs, if they would fit in your category, how you explained, and then just go to the county at once, if that's what we decide to do. So since I'm missing a couple pieces, I know that Fairview Middle and Fairview Elementary would want a piece. We already got the high school, we already got Westwood. So I think I will postpone it to the next agenda. I will contact these schools and kind of let them know what we're trying to do. There is a K-Ready program that also, which is a Fairview Westwood, and it's a community program where they try to get the students ready for school. There's all kinds of data that so many students come to school behind, and they never close that gap. So there is a program that they have requested that. I can get that information. I just want to follow up with Fairview Middle School and Elementary to see if there is anything. And then we would come back as a board, and if that was something I guess we all approved that we wanted to proceed and ask the county, then we could go forward and do that. Any other discussion? Yes.
Just quickly, and I've said this before, like everyone else on this board, I want us to be able to assist the schools any way we can. I think that if we take this money, well, let me say this, I think there's a point not too far off in the future where we're probably going to be building a new school out here. I would suspect with the growth that we anticipate. We already have 2 elementary schools. I know there's a chance that there's either going to be expansion probably on the middle school, I would suspect, or maybe even a new middle school at some point.
Williamson County Board of Education is already looking at land out here.
So, and I don't know what part of the school facilities fund would or could potentially be requested to be used to do any of that new construction. Maybe they won't ask for anything, I don't know. But I just don't want us to end up sort of creating a slippery slope here with them constantly coming every year and expecting us to, have the money to give out, because we may or may not have it. We've had to turn them away in the past, and that's not a pleasant, experience for any of us. But I guess my concern is what sort of parameters do we put on, what projects we will approve or won't approve, and where does it, where do we start, where do we end? I mean, that's just my concern. I mean, I want to use that money. I mean, there's no sense in just sitting here, but I think we do need to.
I think you have a valid point. I mean, I understand that, but we already started this, and they have always come to us, even before we used the school facility tax. Even before I was on the board, I would sit in the audience and hear. They always come. There just isn't enough money every year to do everything that the schools want and desire. Of course, this all started with the electronic, bring your own electronic initiative with Williamson County Schools, and we did not all the students in our community were going to be able to participate in that, and that was a way to give back to the schools. I love that we're giving money, and I think it would be a crying shame if we did not invest in our community. They have not, and we can research this, but they have not asked one city yet for the money to build the school. And if we were the first ones, I would surely want to question that, because to my knowledge, cities have used the money for different reasons. But like the addition to the library. I think they may have helped with the Nolensville, I heard somebody say, Recreation Center. So there's our things, and I can understand not wanting to spend all the money. And that was originally a conversation we had that first year, was we would only spend what came in that year, that we would never wipe out that account because there might be a bigger goal. But to sit here and just hold on to the money when we know there might be a need in the community and the schools, I don't have a problem spending it. I hated last year when we didn't have the money, when the school facility tax was, at 0. And that really was for the schools. That I had a problem with that. Now the money's totally funded, and we need to look at, how can we help? We weren't able to help last year. Yes.
One thing we did before, and I think, is let them have a wish list. Mm-hmm. And to be fair about it, have X number of dollars that we approve per student that's enrolled in that particular school. And as long as their wish list falls within the parameters that we set aside for whatever computers or whatever it's going to be, their allotment would be how much we decide on per student. That way, each school is treated fairly. Because it's going to be per student, not per whatever the big school is or whatever the case may be. So somebody's gonna get more money, somebody's gonna get less money because there's less need there because of schools. So I'd like to see us proceed that way whenever we decide to get back to it.
Okay. Well, we'll see what they offer. One thing about it is I do think there's a cap, should be a cap. We did do the per student. I like that idea. We were able to give a lot more money that way. I think the things that they've requested this year don't equal up anything close. So I don't want to give an open-ended window of, yes.
Just when
Go
you're
ahead.
done. I kind of have a suggestion, or maybe we can, if we can make a list of all the projects the schools would want. I know it's not been an official request, but I have talked to the Fairview High School football coach about their press box, and then maybe an addition there. I think that would be a very legitimate use of the money. But I would like to have maybe a workshop or get some people that are very knowledgeable with the county, maybe come out and maybe we bounce some of these ideas off of them. And I guess my concern is I want to be above board every step we take in this. And my main concern is I don't want us to think we're doing the right thing and then turn around. And kind of like Commissioner Crutcher alluded to, that money was, the county had been setting that money aside for something else. So I guess I feel like we're educated much more today than we were this time last year, but I still don't feel like I'm comfortable enough in my education with the fund.
Well, just to make 100% clear, the school board knew where the gift came from and where we were using it. County commissioners knew where the gift came from. So I do think, we want to do it correctly. And I think that's one of the things that you were really wanting to focus on. I don't know, a workshop, and we could, just like we went for the library, we can take them a request to spend it and they approve it, then we can spend it.
Mayor, I think that's the
Yes.
reason that if you came up with what you were going to do and the reasons for it, put it in the form of a resolution, passed it by this board, had your county commissioner introduce it in the county commission. I think that would take care of you as far as any thoughts about you were doing something that the county didn't know about.
Right. Yes.
I have one other, and also in the letters I sent to the principals, number 12 in the interlocal agreement states this agreement may be modified only by written amendment executed by all parties and their signatures here too. So, I'm in agreement with the attorney. I think we, if we want it, we want to use the money that way. I mean, the answer is always no until you ask.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and defer this. Give me an opportunity to make sure that I have spoken with all the schools, and we'll go from there, and I'll put it on the agenda. And if we need a resolution drawn up, then we can go that way if everybody is in agreement. And if not, I guess we can take it for a vote next time, and you can voice your opinions then. Any other discussion? Okay. Discuss and take action on all appointments to all board commissions, Vice Mayor Sutton.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, what I'm referring to on this was the planning commission. I think all the boards are very important, but I think the planning commission would fall probably second only to the VLC. And my recommendation is going to be that, so we have a full board at virtually every meeting that we have, a full membership of 9, that we vote to appoint 2 alternates to the planning commission. That would set in if a member could not make the meeting, hoping that it's not an emergency and they can't rush in the last minute. But that way they can have the package that can be up to date on whatever we were talking about at that particular meeting. They can sit on it and have a voting right the same one that the commissioner that is out would have had. They wouldn't have any rights other than that unless they were sitting on the board. Well, they're pretty close to doing it the right way.
Yes, sir, what I would suggest is that we'd have to do it with an ordinance, is appoint however many alternates you want, and if they will be able to sit at the meetings. If the board desires they be able to participate in discussions, that's fine. But if the board, if everyone's there, they will not have a vote. If someone is absent, then they would sit in that seat and have all the voting rights and receive that person's pay for that night. Because
Receive the same pay for that particular, and I think to me, it's just something that assures us having a full board of people here. I think it'd be a good training process for people that are alternates on there to be maybe possibly looking at being on the board in the future. And it would just solidify the board for what we're talking about doing. So
I think you would not want to preclude applications from other people, because that would
I think it should be taken from the people that submitted, like right now, people submitted applications last time that weren't on the board, and us vote on them to see if we would approve for
right,
the
and
alternate position.
you would approve them, and I would suggest, though, that if a seat becomes available, they would be considered for that seat, but it wouldn't be limited just to them, because then you're getting into contract legislation, and also it precludes other people. If somebody moved in and wasn't here at the time, then it would be up to this board to determine, do we want to appoint one of those alternates, which you very well might, because they've got all this training, but you wouldn't want to be limited to that.
So my motion would be to ask Larry to move forward with an ordinance allowing for, with a couple of discussion, for 2 to 3, depending on what the board decides to do, alternate for the planning commission.
Okay, got a motion? Okay, got a second. Discussion, I just was thinking 3 may be a little excess. I just think, 2 would probably be, to have that many, that require that many people to, be, because really the planning commission, you're expected to go out and inspect the site, or at least do drive-bys, know where you're, there's prep work that you're going to have to do. So I do think that, 2 is a good
Very
number.
seldom are we ever short more than 2. So 2 would be fine, and with instructions on them getting the package, and you'd have a first alternate and a second alternate, they would rotate. But that's something we can put out in the future. That would keep more people involved and the citizens involved in it too.
Yeah. And it's a non-paid position unless you actually are called to fill in. Okay, any other discussion? And it's just planning commission that you're
Just
doing?
planning commission, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, C, discuss and take action on judge eligibility to receive full-time employee benefits. Commissioner Crutcher.
Thank you, Mayor. I had received a phone call last week sometime and had not realized before that phone call that the city judge was not eligible to participate in the health employee plan, or the employment health plan. Did I say that right? Employee health plan. Thank you. And it looks like Mr. Cantrell was asked to render an opinion as to the legality of the judge being able to participate, and he opined that he could and provided some statutory authority for that. If we as elected officials can participate in the employee health plan, then my position was, and as I said, I didn't really realize that he wasn't already eligible, that the city judge should be able to participate as well. I didn't necessarily think about other employee benefits. I was specifically talking about the health plan, but there may be, I don't know if there's anything else that he would be eligible to participate in or not. Larry may be able to answer that, but I was specifically questioning the health plan.
Well, he could definitely participate in the retirement plan if we allowed him to.
The
But he-
statute, what I thought was interesting was when I started researching this, and by the way, I wrote this back in 2014, but I did bring it up today, went back and checked my references to be sure that somebody hadn't pulled the rug out from under me and changed the statute or overruled the case. But in accordance, I thought it was rather interesting when I started doing this because the charter makes several references to the city judge, but it doesn't make any reference as to, other than that the board sets his pay. And if some of you remember, before the last judge's election, I advised the board that if you want to raise the pay, now's the time to do it, because under Article 7 of Title 6 of the Constitution, you cannot increase or decrease his pay at the time during that elected period. The statute makes it very, I thought it was interesting that the charter doesn't deal with it. We have an ordinance that deals with it, but the section of that quote in there of the statute gives you the leeway to grant him anything that, to the extent that you grant it to other employees. And that's, you can't grant him anything special. You don't have to grant him the whole package if you don't want to, if you just want the health benefits, but you have the authority to do that. Just so that, for informational purposes, I don't know, no one said to me that this was the case, but if he wanted to reimburse the city or something for this because he gets in the group rate, you can't do that. You can't pay him and him pay for the insurance, neither can he give it back, because if you paid him, you're raising his pay during the time of the elected period. If he gives it back to you, he's lowering his pay during the time of his elected period, so it would have to be done the same way the other employees are.
Okay, so you're saying even though we cannot change the salary, but now we can all of a sudden during his term offer health insurance?
Yes, because that's not considered part of his pay. There's a case on that. It's not considered part of his pay, unless he actually pays you for it. There is an exception that he cannot pay for it, one way or the other. You can't pay him and him pay for it. He can't take it and take money of his and pay you back.
Okay, this is a good time to clarify too. So you're saying part-time employees can participate in our retirement plan?
If this board so directs.
Okay, and so as Board of Commissioners, there's people participating as elected official in a retirement plan?
I don't know.
Sure wanted to, but wasn't allowed to.
Well, I was going to say, I've know this is the first I've heard of this.
Well, you don't have, you don't,
Brought it up before, and
you don't have to do it.
go into that.
You don't have to do it.
Okay, so we're just talking health benefits for the judge, right?
Well, that's all I initially requested to put on the agenda, but it appears that it's, the agenda item is more broad than just health insurance, is why I mentioned the other things.
Full-time employee benefits. And, it's like the Tennessee retirement fund.
So you're making the case that he's not a full-time employee.
He's not, and neither are we, really,
So he
so,
only works 2 days a month, and we only work 2 days a month.
right. And basically, the case of it is that.
Even though we work 25.
I work 40 hours a week, well, that's 40 hours a week, but okay. I'm just, what does that open up, since we're discussing, what does it open up for, what about other part-time employees? Are they getting offered health benefits? Somebody can
I don't
surely tell
know.
me that.
This is my understanding of our policies and procedures manual, that we may offer full-time,
The one that's signed?
all of them are the same in this area. I don't think, the benefits and all the versions are the same. We offer full-time health insurance benefits to full-time employees. Now, under the new ACA requirements, we have to offer health benefits to anybody that averages, they look at full-time as 30 hours or more a week. So we have to offer, under a federal law, health insurance to those people. Now, I think what Mr. Cantrell is referring to is if that's what our policy is now. I guess if the board decided to change that, according on the benefit side, if a part-time employee wants to pay the full premium to be on our plan, they don't have any problem with that. And since I came in here, I've always been told that, they can be on our plan, but they have to pay the entire premium. The city does not pay any portion, like on a full-time, like we have the city pays a portion, and then the employee has part of their payroll deducted for their portion. So a part-time employee could not do that. Now, as far as the TCRS, I'm thinking it has to be a full-time employee. I would have to do some more research, but everybody on our plan right now is currently a full-time employee. Now, if they wanted to contribute to the 401K or the 457, that is totally employee contribution. They possibly could do that. It kind of falls in, if the city is contributing, they need to be full-time. If the employee wants to do 100% contribution, there's some leeway there. What other questions?
If he did that, it would not be as a part-time employee. He is, according to case law, is designated as a public officer. So he's not a part of his designation for purposes of consideration is not as a part-time employee. A public officer is defined as anyone who's elected or appointed to an office, holds the title of that office, and discharges the duties of that office. So the city judge, according to Sitton versus Metro, would be a public officer.
Well, no, actually, the what reason that we can get it is because it was voted on. I mean, that's not,
Yeah, but Tim stood at the podium that night and said the judge could be on it as well, because he's got judges in every other city across through here that's already on it.
You would be under there as a public officer also because you're
yeah,
elected.
I know. I choose not to take it.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
I'm talking about the eligibility for the board, whether they take it or don't take it, they are public officers. They're elected. They have a title that's bestowed on them by law, and they exercise certain duties and discharge certain functions. So they're not part-time employees.
Are you part of it through Berry Hill? Do you have health insurance through Berry Hill?
Do I have what?
Health insurance through
No,
Berry
sir.
Hill?
No, sir.
Anything other than the judge's salary?
No, sir, but I never tried to get it because my health insurance from previous employment is free, so I couldn't beat that.
Right.
Okay, so in conclusion, you're just talking health. It's not retirement. It's not,
Yeah, that's all I was talking about, because it was my understanding that, I thought if it's available to the Board of Commissioners as elected officials, then it seems to me that it would be available to the judge as an elected official. And as I said, I didn't realize that he wasn't on it, or it wasn't available to him.
how much does the city pay for each person that does choose to take the health? What's the portion?
I'd have to get the exact numbers to you, but I believe it's right around between 70 and 75% of the premium. And it may vary a little bit between, there's 3 options. And it also would vary if he does single or employee plus one or family coverage.
What was I gonna say? It left me, sorry. It'll come back.
Yes.
Have you made the motion?
No, I haven't made a motion yet. I had a question, but I can't remember what it was.
I'm just keep the discussion going. I'll make the motion that we include for the full-time employee benefits. Section Pop, you checking with the Tennessee Retirement Association and see if he's actually even eligible for that. I don't know. That'd be a question. And if he is, he's contributing to it, right? He's contributing to that.
I have no idea.
Well, you do. When you contribute to it, it's tax-free.
He's saying it would be coming out of his paycheck.
Right now, right now, it would not.
No, if he did, if he was allowed to do it, he would be paying for it, not the city.
Yes,
Making the contribution,
yes, with his employee status, he would be contributing.
I know
Yeah,
what
but I would have to talk to, I would have to call TCRS, and I'd have to research all that as far as what he could do, but yes, the employee, the city would not be contributing anything to an elected official's, TCRS benefits.
Well, if that's the case, then why wouldn't, I mean, why not why not let any of us do it if that's the case? I mean, if we're paying our own money into it.
The county does it, Brentwood does it, Franklin does it.
if I can, I've been doing it for 21 years paying into it, so, we pay into, the city pays into a pool, am I correct?
Correct.
Pay into a pool, and the way that works out is, I'm fixing to retire, and they're gonna take all the money that I paid in first, and start charging me taxes on it, and when that's eliminated, if I'm still alive, they're gonna start going into the pool that we pay into, because many times, if somebody's here for 10 years and quits, the city's not out anything, am I right?
Employees invested after 5 years.
Okay. I thought the actual, the pool part of it, let's say 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. There's nothing, they don't get anything, they get their money back, but they don't get our money back. They get their money plus interest, they get their money plus interest on it. But they pay into it, we don't pay into it, except in a pool situation.
I know what question I was gonna ask now, and I apologize. Would this do anything in terms of changing the line item for health insurance in the budget? I mean, it wouldn't change anything, would it? I mean, it would still be covered in what you've already budgeted for.
Yes, and if the employee is paying for anything on their own, it never touches the city's books.
But I want to make sure it's clear, the health insurance, you're asking, I mean, we would have to pay 75%. You just said, what's your cost to the city, and it's 75%, right?
Correct.
So we are paying, it would affect the budget, because we didn't budget for the judge's position. Now, retirement, it sounds like we pay it, we contribute anyway. So that's not gonna affect, I'm sitting there thinking I wasted 6 years of my life, but, but I don't know if we didn't budget for it, I mean, it will affect.
I feel like we've got a really good rate with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I feel like we will be well under budget in that line item if the board so chooses to make this decision. I would say if he enrolls as single, depending on the plan, it costs the city up to $300. This is off the top of my head. I can give you the exact numbers. If he enrolls as employee plus one, it might be somewhere around $750, and family, I'd say probably pushing $1,000
For
a month.
a month.
Here's
Yes.
We don't have to vote tonight to allow him to get on the insurance. He can come in and sign up for the insurance tomorrow. He can too, because it's already approved through our insurance company.
if he chooses to pay
If he
the
chooses.
premium, yeah.
Pay the entire premium. Well, I was gonna say just this, I mean, I realized that he chose to run for judge, and he knew what the salary was when he chose to run for judge, but, even for a part-time judge, $16,000 a year is not a lot of money, in my opinion, to get a judge here for 2 Fridays a month. Again, knowing that he chose to run, he probably, in all likelihood, him and any other, or Judge Taylor, when he was here, probably lost more money in clients for the 2 Fridays they were out here than they actually earned by being out here. Now, I know they chose to be the judge, so I'm not, trying to, say that they didn't make that decision on their own. I'm just saying that I think that he's not being paid significant amount of money.
Yeah, here's the thing, I don't really understand how we can not do him when we have our own board members, that participate. It was passed before now. So actually we have to offer. I'm not sure that I agree with it because basically, it wasn't something that was offered when he took the position. The whole salary thing, I think, even though it's not a whole lot of money, but it sure is, we're paying them pretty well for half days twice a month. So I'm not really going to use that as a factor, because if we start talking pay, then, we've met every Thursday for the last 2 months. So I don't really know that pay has anything to do with it, but from a standpoint, since it is offered to other elected officials, on a legal standpoint, if he wants it, I don't know how we couldn't provide it to him, unless somebody wants to tell me something different.
Can we get a second on one motion?
Yeah, I think Stewart, did he not second?
Second. Now we do. Now we're
I thought.
discussing.
And I just-
Legally, is there an issue? Can we refuse to add him and us be on it? That's what I want to know.
Probably not, since it's already approved for other elected officers, i.e. the board. It doesn't matter whether anybody took it or not. If it's approved for them, he's the same as, he's an elected officer.
Yeah.
You'd probably have, if he wanted to push it, you'd probably have a problem.
Right. So what's right is right and wrong is, what's fair, I think we have to. I'm not, I don't know why we should offer, I'm not even sure we should offer it for any part-time, but I know the laws have changed, and I don't know that, for us, in my opinion, but it is what it is, and I think if he has a desire, was it him that called you?
No, it wasn't him.
Who called on behalf of the judge?
Diane asked me if I realized that he wasn't on the health plan, and I said no, and I didn't.
Okay. So we have a motion that has been seconded. I don't think we have to vote, though. I really don't. We already have elected officials. I don't even know why we have to vote. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We don't for the insurance, we do probably if we're gonna allow him to get into RS.
But we're not allowed, so basically.
We are allowed if we voted it in.
Yeah, so right now I say for health insurance, and then we could put a new agenda item on another and discuss whether or not we want all elected officials.
Because if
Mayor.
we're gonna do that, I'm gonna write a check for 15.5 years.
Since you've got a motion on the floor and it is an addition to, it's an extension of what the Board of Commissioners already has, I don't think it would hurt to go ahead and get a vote on it, and then you're on the record.
Okay, so read the motion if you wouldn't mind.
Vice Mayor Sutton made a motion to allow the judge to participate in the full-time employee benefits.
So it doesn't really say.
He added if he could participate in TCRS. then he
I'd like
should.
to amend the motion to read to do the health care just like it is for any other elected official currently.
Second.
Okay, we have amended motion that the benefits will be offered to Judge Dyer as is offered to us. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If you would like to go there and have the discussion on paying into the retirement plan, especially since it doesn't seem to affect the city financially, if we need to make it official, let's just put it on the next agenda. Okay. where are we? Let's see. Last item. It's already packing up. Discuss and take action on interlocal agreement between Williamson County and the City of Fairview in corporation with the provision of health care clinic. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just renewing our interlocal agreement to continue. I think we're under a 3-year contract with them anyway. This is probably the second year of that contract, so it's just more or less an agreement that we need to move forward with.
Move to approve.
First and second, any discussion?
This is not extending the contract, Larry.
Yeah, the contract, I think, was running out, and but it's extending what you had.
So what you just said was, we're in the middle of a 3-year contract, but we're in year 2.
No, this says it expires July the 1st,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
2016,
So
but,
is it for 1 year, or is it for 3 more years?
no, it's for 3.
3 more years. I'm
But
sorry.
if you extend
That's
it,
what I thought, I just didn't what I heard.
yeah, if you extend it, it will be effective July the 1st, when everybody signs it, but it'll date back to July 1st.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, discuss and take action on Bill 2016-19, an ordinance number 933, an ordinance for the amendment to the City of Fairview, Tennessee budget fiscal year 2016-2017 budget, Bowie Park paving, and that will be Mr. Darty.
Thank you, Mayor. As we were going through our budget discussions, we created a projects list, and we decided together that we would do a budget amendment when we got ready to do a project. These next two items are projects. The first paving, we had approved $30,000. It came in at $22,700. They're going to pave the gravel area right there in front of the Nature Center, as well as the parking lot down a little bit past the, I might have to get Keith to tell me, but anyway, it's going to repave the Bowie Park parking lot.
Okay.
And this, I put in here the Bowie, as we're either going to use in these projects, no new revenue, we're going to either use a special revenue fund or some of the 15-cent reserves we built up in 2016. So I have down to use the Bowie Park fund since it just is at the Bowie Park. But if the board so chooses to change that allocation anyway, we still have $68,000 reserved for parks in the 5-cent.
Where's the money coming from?
In the ordinance, I have it out of the Bowie Park fund. But that could be, if y'all wanted to change any of that, that's totally your discretion.
This is one of the projects that was on the list to be completed,
Yes.
though, right? I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second in discussion. I just want to state for the record, I believe that originally when the paving project, it was presented in different phases. It was said that anything outside the park would be paid from the street fund, and anything inside the park would be from the Bowie Park fund. That is not how we did it. And so now we're going to take it all out of the Bowie Park Fund. I make the suggestion that we need to consider taking it out of, splitting it up in the same way that we did the outside. So I make a motion that we split the money from the Bowie Park Fund and the street.
Which street fund are you talking about?
The street aid.
I don't think we can do that.
Why not?
Because it's not I don't think legally it's considered a public I'll have to research that, but I think we're gonna have some issues inside the park using state street aid money.
Okay, then why can't we repay back the money that we spent from the Bowie Park and have the whole portion go to the street and then everything in Bowie Park go to the park?
We can, if you wanna bring that up, that's fine. I don't remember exactly those figures. I believe that was before we arrived.
Okay. Did anybody have any reasons?
Oh, I don't care where the money comes from necessarily. I just knew that this was on the short list of projects. And I know it's been tossed around the Park Commission for the meeting that I was at, and I saw it on the agenda for the most recent Park Commission meeting. So it's something that clearly we've talked about getting done for a while. I don't necessarily have a preference where the money comes from. We've got that 5 cents sitting there that has you said $68,000 in it, and this project we're appropriating 22.7 for it. I mean, use that money. I'm in the motion that we use 22.7 from the 5 cents that was designated for parks.
We have amended motion?
Both of them or just E?
Well, I haven't got to, I mean, no, I wasn't thinking about F yet, but, so I was referencing just E.
I mean,
I'd like to comment if that has, or when it's seconded either way.
Okay, well, there's no second, so we're back to the original motion.
Thanks, Mayor, I don't see anything wrong with paying for it out of the Bowie fund, and I'll tell you why. If you get Tom to do a history, we've probably spent in the last decade $1 million of city taxpayer money on the park versus park funds on the park. So I just don't think it's no telling. I mean, for years and years and years and years, we paid the salaries out of the regular budget, not the Bowie Park Fund. Bowie Park Fund fluctuated over the years and got a big chunk when Publix was sold, but that's what it's there for. It was there to pay for projects in the park. And truthfully, just because somebody said, well, the road stops here, it's not really the park. Well, the road to get to there was the park because Frank's was the park. So officially, that entire road is the park road.
What, can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. When this was discussed, and I know Mr. Rose here, and there may be another, there's a representative from the Friends on the Park Commission. Is that right?
Yeah, but it wasn't decided at the Park Commission. It was decided up here where the funds were going to come from.
No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about this project in particular. I'm not talking about what happened in the past. I'm just saying this was on the short list of projects to be completed, and there's representation from several different groups of people on that commission. And I just didn't know if they had discussed, the Park Commission had discussed where they thought this funding would come from. And I don't, Mr. Rowe may know, may not know, I don't know.
Well, and we can bring them up, but I would like to make a statement. What I'm saying is we did not hold up to what we originally said. It's the principle to me. So it got double dipped from the park, and, you know, it makes sense for the inside of the park to be paid from the park fund, and I think nobody would argue that. It's just we didn't come up, when it came to financing, we didn't do what we said we were going to do, and I'm just trying to correct it.
It all should have been paid for out of the park anyway.
No, not really. I don't think so.
Can I?
No, that's the road that goes into the park.
No, it's the road that goes to the fire department.
What's the road that goes into the park?
It's the road that goes to the fire department.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead. You have the floor, Commissioner.
You guys are discussing something that apparently happened before I was here, so somebody's going to educate me on what we're talking about. I thought we were talking about a budget amendment that related to paving specifically in the park and a project that we've been discussing for quite some time. So somebody please tell me what's the...
I just educated you a minute ago. What happened is when we went to pave the road, we had 3 phases.
The road from Highway 100?
No, yes. because we were going to Bowie Lake Road, we were going to widen it, put sidewalks down, and it was done in 3 phases.
Okay.
Originally, when it was brought forward, it was agreed that a certain portion would be paid out of the street aid fund, and then inside the park portion would go, and it didn't get divided up correctly. That's what I'm talking about. And I just was thinking, here we're hitting them again. And I know it's the logical place to take it. That's where the money is. I know that a lot of the commissioners are going to say, sure, let's just take it out of the Bowie Park Fund. But eventually it's going to be gone. And, you know, it's still the principle to me.
What are you gonna save it for?
What we've done, things, projects, real needs.
But this is a project that the park board's doing.
We're going to have to, you know what? That blacktop is going to have to be redone in 10 years. And, you know, maybe save it for then when it needs to be done. The sidewalks are going to have to be maintained. There's projects in the park right now. We're looking at building the trails and different things on the park board. There's a lot of reasons we can spend that money, and this is an opportunity where we could use another fund. Yes.
We're talking about this, but I've not heard many solutions. So what's the solution to the issue? I mean, we've got this money that's proposed in this budget ordinance, or a budget amendment to come from the Bowie Park Fund. I propose that it come from the 5 cents. That motion died. That's fine. I've heard Mr. Daugherty say that he doesn't think that it can come from state street aid. So in light of that, where are we gonna get the money? That's all I'm
I
trying to
had
figure
a
out.
motion.
Can I offer a compromise perhaps that on E item right there, that we take half the money from the 5 cent fund and half the money from Bowie Park Fund? Although the payment we're talking about is strictly for the park, and I want to know if that's going to be doing the classroom at the same time. Why not?
We haven't got it engineered yet.
We've been hearing about that for a long time.
Well, you don't know how many,
Sidewalk, huh?
yes, sir, yeah, handicap trail down to join classrooms. And they're supposed to have somebody else on staff several months ago that was supposed to have done that. So far, that staff person hadn't showed his face in Fairview yet.
That would be my motion to split those funds on that right there, from the 5 cent fund and the Bowie Park Fund, or split whatever the cost is,
For both E and F?
just for E for right now.
Oh, just for E.
Okay, got a first and second. Mr. Daugherty, have you already in our project list accounted for the 5% in our new projects?
In these two, I have. Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm saying out of that 5 cents, or out of the additional money that Commissioner Crutcher was referring to. Have we already designated that money in the wish list?
No, I mean, these will be the first 2 designations right here.
And is that where you were planning on getting it from, was the
I
portion?
had no plan. I'm whatever y'all want to do. I mean, y'all, we saved it. Whatever projects y'all want to spend it on is fine with me.
Okay. Okay, what's the motion that's on the table? I know we have original and amended. If you'll read those back, Ms. Johnson.
The original motion was to approve the ordinance as written, which takes it all out of Bowie Park Fund. And then the amended motion is to take half out of the additional 5 cents for projects and half out of the Bowie Fund.
Okay. So, any more discussion on the amended motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, what was the vote on that? Everybody said aye? Okay, didn't hear. Okay, all in favor? Yeah, okay. Opposed? Did I say opposed? Yes. Okay. Okay, moving on. F, discuss and take action on Bill 2016-20, an ordinance number 934, an ordinance to amend the City of Fairview budget fiscal year 2016-17 budget, Nature Center Heating and Air Conditioner Unit Replacement. Mr. Darty.
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of the same situation as what we just went through. For the heating and AC unit for the central part of the Nature Center.
Where's the money coming from?
As the ordinance is written, the Bowie Park Fund, but once again, that is totally at your discretion. We have 68,000 minus 13 that would just.
We replaced one last year, didn't we? One unit?
We
2 years
replaced two
ago?
last year.
2 last year. And where'd that money come from?
That came out of the,
Bowie Park.
Bowie Fund?
yep.
So to
Move
be
it.
fair, we need to have the street department pay for this one.
Did I call on you? Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, I think you spoke out of turn.
Move-
Go ahead, Commissioner Crutcher.
Move to approve so we can get to discussion.
Second.
Okay, got a first and second.
How many units are left over there that's not been replaced?
Just this one.
Thank goodness.
It's the last
Okay, I was hoping this wasn't one of the new units that we, so good. Okay, so this will be it. Yeah, I'll amend the motion on this one as well to take it out of the money from the 5 cents project fund.
Get a second. Motion dies. Okay, original motion is to take it out of the Bowie Park Fund. And just for the record, it's the principle about the road. It's not what we said, and we didn't go through what we said. So I think the Bowie Park Fund's there for using it, but if we spend it on every free, thing, then obviously it won't be there. So it's the principle to me. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, city managers discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners. Here again, I just want to thank everyone that had anything to do with the third fireworks display and the independence of our country. Brandy's done a fantastic job, but we have so many other people that's done such a good job to help her out. At next month's meeting, we have our city manager's report coming out, and I'd like to honor every one of them. If we can fill the whole stage up there with all the people that was involved in that. So I think it's time to let the citizens know the hard work that these people do to put this project on. It's a very, very good thing for our community. It brings the community together. And I'm one, too, that I think this was the better one of all the years. So the next thing I have tonight is to remind people of the danger down on Chester Road. We had another collapse on the northbound side. It has been filled up with gravel. There is loose gravel there. We did have some coal mix that we put in, but sometimes that doesn't hold real good. But I'd like everybody to remember that that is a very dangerous spot tonight. Another thing, as far as the Public Works, I'd like for the people to be a little more patient right now with the chipping and the bush hogging along the edge of the road. We just now got our tractor fixed, and they're doing a little bit at a time and trying to get to the most dangerous spots with that. But they're kind of overworked. I know I was out early this morning on some trees that were down, and they were out on a larger tree that was down. So, they were called in earlier. So, and they spent most of the day on emergencies, more or less, today without having a chance to do any kind of regular work. But I'd like to just the citizens be a little patient with us right now as far as anything the Public Works are doing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Cottrell, do you have a question for this?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
That's okay. Impact fee. We ask that you have something this meeting.
In my discussions with Will and Larry, and Will kind of disagree a little bit, and Larry can say why he would disagree. We can enact the facilities fee an additional quarter. Y'all can do that as a board a lot quicker than we can pay to have it done, to the tune of $30,000 to have an impact fee done. Then you can designate that additional quarter. It'll bring it up even with the commercial. And we just, I think, done that about a year or so ago. And in the projection that I have, possibly, on 900 homes, I think we could possibly receive close to $700,000 in that length of time that it would take to construct those homes.
You're asking us about adding a quarter, is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
To the facilities,
To the facility tax, not impact fee.
not impact fee, facilities.
How's that gonna, is it gonna affect anybody other than new
With you
construction?
designating it toward roads, yes, it's going to affect, that's what
It's
you're
gonna
going
affect
to.
I can't hear you, I'm
If you
sorry.
designate it to the roads, that's what you're impacting. You know, when you have, say, 200 homes on one street and you designate all that to facilities, then you designate that for that
But my
road.
question is, if we add that to, that's not gonna affect anybody that's currently in the city or has a home in the city?
No, sir.
Strictly new growth?
New growth,
Okay.
yes, sir. And one other thing that I'm going to bring to the planning commission that I'm trying to see what the process will be. Any new subdivisions that's got entrances to them, I think they should be allowed or asked to put turning lanes in front of that as part of their subdivision. I think that's a key thing for the future. And if we, as part of our regulations, if we go ahead and put it in there, then it won't have to be a traffic study. We'll already have our own traffic study there.
So when are you gonna bring forward about the impact fee?
Will hasn't
the
come up,
facility
that'll be up to y'all. You just let me know when you want to bring it. I can put it on the agenda next.
Put it on the next agenda, please.
Yes, sir. And so,
I would like some clarification, because I do think you could affect people that already live here if they go to do an addition on their house. I think they would be charged the current rate instead of, even though they wouldn't be impacting anything but their own property.
yeah, I'll look into that for you.
Okay, yeah, that was something I wanted to be clear on.
Okay, all right.
I know it's your time. Can I talk just briefly? If I would like to know the difference between the revenue that could be generated from the impact, and we may not know that without a study,
Yeah.
but an estimate of what the difference is between the revenue that could be generated from the impact fee versus the revenue from this additional quarter, because if we're talking about $700,000 a year, I mean, yeah, that would pay.
Not a year,
No, that's
on
just over 900.
800 or 900 homes, it's
Whether it
coming.
takes 50 years or 10 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
you see, I mean, and so I guess that would be proportional to the growth or whatever and what you
Yes.
brought in, so that would make sense. But
Yeah.
say, $700,000 just doesn't sound like to me a lot of money in terms of doing a lot of major road
How much?
expansion. $700,000. I mean, because earlier we was talking about the grant that Representative Durham mentioned of $900,000, and that's great that we've got that grant, that's wonderful, and we're gonna expand some sidewalks. But just to expand from where we already have a sidewalk to, up to the corner of
Cumberland,
thank you. That's not a huge distance, and that's gonna cost us $900,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. So the point is, it doesn't sound like you can do a whole lot with the amount of money that this extra quarter will bring in versus what an impact fee might bring in. That's all I have.
Does that make you want to buy a concrete company?
Yeah.
well,
Can you
as far
explain-
as those sidewalk goes, there's a lot of other things that go along with that, such as moving utilities and fill and that type of thing. It's part of that grant.
How does it affect commercial?
Wouldn't rate, there's no increase on commercial, it'll be strictly residential.
But see, wouldn't the impact fee affect commercial? And they're the ones that's doing the biggest impact on our roads when it's increasing the traffic
Yeah.
and where an impact fee would affect, you're gonna end up penalizing or requiring, I don't want to say penalizing, but requiring the developer to pay more. But in essence, an impact fee would just be for the impact of the roads. And if we could potentially get more, if we start taking the facility, you know, charging more and that, then are we going to be comparable to other communities? We don't want to be, you know, become,
The reason, I'll give you one reason as far as the reason that developers doesn't like an impact fee. Because if they get a 200 lot subdivision approved and the impact fee there, and they pay the whole impact fee up front.
One time.
At one time.
Rather than paying
The
a,
facilities, they only pay when
Pay
they pull a permit.
As they get the permit, so that's one
okay,
huge.
but what about commercial?
Be the same thing. You'd have an impact fee.
you'd raise
on
it on them also.
Okay, so any more discussion? Or we don't have to vote, never mind.
But we can get statistics from Cheatham County if you wanted to see their report and how it's worked for them. I'm sure we could get that.
So we're gonna have that on the next agenda.
Okay,
If I can get Will to move forward with me on it, he's covered up. But I'll be seeing him Tuesday. I've got all day set aside with Will, so.
This is one of those things that we've discussed before
I
about
know.
going carrying
And
on
he-
for a year and a half.
This, I don't
and
know whether
we're
this
starting
was
to
his
build
way
homes
of
and we're
trying
losing money.
to bide time on it or what, but he's the one that suggested the facilities fee, and of course, I think he and Larry kind of disagree on it a little bit, so.
okay, so you'll put something on the next agenda. Mr. Contrell,
I have nothing further at this time, Mayor.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Crutcher,
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson,
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank Tom for the email he sent us earlier in the week and all the hard work he did on crunching those numbers. And I doubt it, he did send it to the paper. I doubt she'll publish it, but because it's in conflict to what Facebook wants people to know. But I think you did a good job, Tom.
okay, Vice Mayor,
So I thought I got on his time, didn't I? I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I thought I was interrupting your time earlier, and I was interrupting Mr. Hall's time.
okay, the only thing I want to say tonight, I find it disrespectful when we're trying to talk for separate conversations to be going on, and there was a few times that I really felt disrespected because you were having your own side conversations, and I was trying to listen to whoever was speaking. So I just asked in the future if we tame that down. I tell my students all the time, in elementary school, it's rude to talk when other people are talking, so I just want to make it aware that I found it offensive tonight. And with that being said, I just want to elaborate on the 4th Independence Day celebration. I just thought it was wonderful for the community. So with that being said, if I can get a motion, I would adjourn.
Move adjourned.
Okay, thank you.